and we'll be sending the Utes out for the first race today. This is the grid. It's a reverse top 5 from their first race yesterday. Peter Ward now on pole position, the Kiwi, alongside Blake Scaberis, who was very impressive yesterday. The big names to watch are on road 2, and also Roll Harris. He won yesterday's race, so watch him come flying through the field. And also this guy had some issues with the throttle, and hopefully that's fixed, because I want to see him pull through this field. Zukanovic's a good driver.
It'll be interesting to watch him off the back of the grid, and with 11 cars, you'd have to think he can get himself into the top 5 or even slightly better. Roll Harris, though, he's just been in a league of his own in every session this weekend, just that little bit ahead of Mason Barbera. Kim Jane has been threatening as well. So it's actually good that we put Roll back to the 3rd row of the grid, but I've got to say, having raced against Roll Harris in this category, he's very aggressive in reverse grid races. There's the odd bit of panel swapping and mirrors coming off, but he is very good in carving through a field. So we'll be entertaining to watch him from the 3rd row of the grid in this one. Kim Jane had a bit of an up and down day yesterday. He was passed by Mason Barbera about mid-race, but then he was right on the back of him for 3rd on the last few laps.
It's very rare that one driver wins all 3 races in a Ute weekend, usually because of that reverse grid rule. It'll be interesting to see if Roll Harris can pull that off this weekend. Just a reminder, this is not a championship round for the Utes. We're going to get a bit of a farewell tour here, and Winton will be the last time we see them before we welcome in the new Super Ute. That'll be happening later this year at Townsville. So make sure you come up for the Townsville 400 for that one to see the dawn of a new category. It's where Formula 4 had their first event a couple of years ago. So it's a good place for debuts. There's your front row. Blake Scaberis will be hoping for a good start. He's on debut this weekend in this category. It's a long run down to the first corner, about a quarter mile. And that is the view. It just plunges off towards the Bass Strait. Ready to go racing on Sunday at the Island. Oh, Barbera a little bit tardy off the line. Even start between the guys on the front row. Can Scaberis get across and cover the inside, or will Jane just get everybody? Where did Kim Jane come from?
The launch didn't look that spectacular, but I just wonder whether a little bit more experience through the gearbox, up through the gears. Perhaps if you touch the limiter in these cars, Scaberis touches Ward and gives him a serve right off the road.
Oh, he's going and going and gone out through the gravel. Oh, what a shame. Had the front row, and here he is picking himself out of the grass, maybe even out of the tyres.
Oh, gee. See, it's a tricky one there. He gave it a fair bit of throttle to get through the gravel trap, but then too much momentum to pull it up on that slippery grass. So I was just saying too, Chad, that, yeah, if you touch the limiter in these cars, particularly in the lower gears, it really does retard the car. So whether those 2 guys up front just stretched the RPM a bit too long at the start, and Kim was through.
Just whizzed around them. Richard Mork running off wide down there at turn 4 that time. So now it's Jane leading Scaberis from Roll Harris and Mason Barbera. Harris, who's 3rd in the road, really needs to get around Scaberis. That's a cool shot. Fast through the hay shed. There aren't so many places around Phillip Island that are slow, to be honest. It's just a fast place to race.
And nearly 2 tons of ute going through there.
How's the mirror on Scaberis' car hanging on for dear life? Here comes Zukanovich. We said it'd be exciting coming through the pack. He's picked up a couple. So watch the yellow and blue ute here on the replay at the start.
Great launch, but I think it was exaggerated because Mason Barbera had quite a slow start, just bogged down a little.
He was already in the lead by turn 1. It was amazing.
Quite comfortably. So let's see this. Scaberis on the inside has a little lock up, and then look, it wasn't a big one, but it was just enough to push Ward offline. There's no grip at turn 2 here when you're that wide. So he's given it the boot full, but perhaps a little bit too much. And then he's on the brakes now, sliding and bang into the tyre bundle. So not a big impact, but unfortunately well, it's down in P11, so not in showing as in the pit lane, but
still going on with it.
Yeah, very slowly though at the moment.
How's Blake Scaberis form here? Given a front row start with the reverse grid, but going with Kim Jane here. Oh, that's not going to help his cause. Big lock up.
Oh, massive lock up.
This is Roll Harris's chance. Needs to pounce. Should get that Bush Ranger ute up the inside, but it'll put him on the wrong side of the track for Siberia. Oh, And this is going to really help Kim Jane out in the lead.
Well, Kim's put his head down and bolted, but I've just heard from race control, we're just getting from race control, Chad, that car 68 PLP drive-through penalty for that turn 2. Race 2, turn 2 incident. So this time around there'll be a black flag for 68.
Oh, shame. Because he's running with the big boys in this category right now. Here's Roll Harris down the inside. Kim Jane hasn't been able to really gap the chasing pack here like he probably would have wanted to. He did set up for late tyre pressures in race 1, just as you were saying. It's the 68 that's going to be getting a PLP.
Look, it was certainly a lock going into turn 2. Cold tyres, and speaking of, look at the understeer here. Skiberis, look at that. He has a big understeer wide, and then the car's unloaded, so there's weight off that side of the car. He still hasn't probably got the wheel perfectly straight when he's braked, so it's grabbed that tyre. He's about to hit the back of Kim Jane, so he then rolls off the brake pressure to stop the lock slightly.
Oh, that must have been close.
Because you can see it's now, the wheel's now turning, but he's got so much extra speed on board. When he turns the car in, it snaps into an oversteer. So
it was a pretty good catch.
It was. He was busy. It was definitely busy.
About as busy as you in the commentary box trying to explain all that with your hands. You can't help yourself.
Us drivers, no, we talk a lot with our hands, with steering wheels. I've seen Mark Scaife do that very well, a lot.
Check out Barbera on a charge here. He'll get up the inside now at turn 4. He does the exact same thing that Skiberis did on the last lap, but he managed to pull it up in time at turn 4. So that's the change for third. Harris has set off trying to close the gap to Kim Jane. He set the fastest first sector of the race so far. Barbera has the fastest lap so far. That's a 1:49.9. It's only a 10th off the lap record. Track is quick.
Yeah, quick, isn't it? First up. So not a lot of rain overnight here, which is good. We'll hopefully have a clear day. A few forecast light showers later, I believe, but only a small chance of that. So we'll see a drive-through penalty this time round.
Tell you what, a wet race would really put to bed all those issues of tyres this weekend.
And then camber doesn't really matter when you're not carrying the cornering load that loads the tyre.
Now will Skiberis dive into the pit lane here? He's got that penalty to serve. There's the pit lane entrance off to the right-hand side, and in he comes. While the leaders whiz on by to start another lap. Roll Harris has really closed in on Kim Jane. We're expecting Jane's car to come on late in the race. That's what their tactic was yesterday.
Geez, Harris is really quick, isn't he? He's a 49.30. So takes the lap record from last year.
He was half a second under the lap record on that lap. There's the famous cone that's been added to the pit lane, and it's a good morning to Cameron Vanderdungen, who's down in the pit lane.
Yeah, guys, just thought I'd give you an update on Marcus Sukanovic. You saw him cutting his way through the field. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to get rid of that throttle issue from yesterday, so rewiring between now and Winton, as well as a new ECU.
Okay, well, he's pushing on with it, though, Cam. He's doing a pretty good job. He's actually 5th at the moment, and the race for the lead is on here. Turn 4. Harris up the inside. Can Jane stick with him? That'll just about do it.
He didn't drive defensively, did he? I mean, he just knew that Ryle's just in a league of his own. He's that 4 or 5 tenths a lap quicker than anyone else at the moment. So he didn't shut the door. Oh, he did that yesterday too, Kim Jane. Just using a little bit too much road. So we'll just have to see now whether tyre pressures play a part in the back half of this race, the last lap or two, because that's where we saw Kim was strong yesterday, whether he's gone on the same strategy, slightly lower starting pressure to be a little bit racier at the back end of the race.
Roll Harris right on the edge. When the weight came off that right front Yokohama tyre, just locked up for a split second, but it was enough to get up the inside of the Bob Jane T-Marts 27, and he marches on through to the lead. Very similar to what happened yesterday when Barbera got around Jane. Jane was able to stick with him, though, and then, like you said, late in the race. Check out the right rear tyre jumping off the racetrack here for Jane at the exit of Siberia. Oh, yes. Keeps the boot in it, no worries.
Not a lot of grip out there on the grass, so lost a little bit of momentum, but he's hanging on to the back of Roll Harris. So 50.7 versus a 49.8 of Harris last time around. So Roll Harris still in the 49s, the only ute currently circulating in the 49s. Barbera 50.3. And gee, that's a shame for Marcus Zekanovic. I mean, he's, you know, with a throttle issue, which seems like it's intermittent because he's still down in P4. So let's hope that they can get on top of that. When you have an electrical gremlin, it can just be so difficult to find it sometimes with these cars with ECU.
Jane is not letting that blue ute of Roll Harris escape him just yet. He's up for the fight. Let's see if he runs it wide at the exit of Siberia again. The lap times, toing and froing in the early stage of this race. Now, if they do engage in a bit of a fight here, oops, Skibberus is off the road after making his drive through. This is heading wildly around at turn 1.
You can hear the throttle and the and the V8. He's probably just a little eager to get back on the road. So you can hear it. It literally sounds like a ute in a paddock doing circle work, not getting anywhere. There's going to be actually that'll be quite slippery. So we'll see what happens. He's dropping a lot of mud. Oh, gee, left the road early, didn't he?
Coming in hot. Keep the boot in it.
It's been a busy race for him so far. And then you can hear he's just full throttle. I mean, fortunately, there's no one coming around there, but there will be a fair bit of mud on entry to turn 2.
There's a big campsite down there. That would have woken them up if they hadn't quite got out of the tents yet this morning. Cool spot to watch a race car go through, or a motorbike for that matter, turn 1.
Absolutely, in anything. Just big commitment in any car. Doesn't matter what you're driving. It's a fast corner. V8 supercar, I think we're seeing yesterday, about 200 minimum corner speed. This is all the dirt. Oh. So I'm not sure if there was a slippery surface flag out there. Ideally, for that lap, it would have been good to warn the leaders coming.
Jane's pretty quick around this part of the track. Seems to be where he can run with Roll Harris. Ooh, Mason Barbera's got some parts.
That's a tyre.
That's a tyre.
That's a tyre letting go, I would imagine.
He has dropped 8 seconds back off the leaders. This is poor Blake Skiberis. Check out the way the left front tyre is moving around, and then all the turf coming out of the right side after his little excursion.
Getting rid of all the dirt. And yeah, that's for this too, Chad, you can see there's a bolt on the end of that. So that definitely caused a puncture. Speaking of, Barbera right front. So that's a tyre that was going down, or now whether he's picked up a puncture with a lot of that debris or whether he's had a touch in the guard. I mean, what you see there with all that panel damage would be the actual shredding of that tyre. We saw that yesterday in the supercar race, how much damage a tyre delaminating does to the car. So whether he's picked up a puncture, and it looked like it started, didn't it, onto the front straight there when we saw that rear shot.
The load through the last corner onto the front straight is huge here. Now Mick Cedars has had an excursion.
I think that, I don't know if that is coming onto the front straight. That's a...
Oh, it's Lukey Heights.
Lukey, okay, on the outside of Lukey. Here we go. So just got forced offline there a little bit. Nothing untowards in that incident.
It's a huge gravel trap. It's gone all the way straight through it, pulled it up in front of the tyre wall, so he's done a good job. There's that debris flag, or slippery surface flag on the road. And again, Kim Jane locks up, almost identical to the last time through. That last time by just a smidge quicker than Roll Harris. Maybe he's got something for him. We said he'd be quick late in the race. That was the plan yesterday with the tyre pressures starting low. The tyre pressures in these utes are vastly different to what you'd run in a supercar. The number is bigger, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, it's more of what you'd expect on a performance road tyre, you know, if you're doing a track day or something like that. So they certainly aim for something in the 30s as a hot tyre pressure.
Compare that to a supercar, that would be, what, about 10 pounds more?
Well, I mean, I think the TPS system is a minimum of 17 from what I know in the supercars this year as a cold start pressure, and they're probably looking something around the mid-20s as a warm 25, 26. So where do you expect to be in the low 30s on this Yokohama tyre? So it's what they call an R-spec tyre. So if you think about the V8 supercar slick tyre, this has a lot of grooves in it. So it's an all-weather tyre. Still a racing compound, so it's designed for track use only, but certainly more of a compromised tyre than a full slick racing tyre. And they don't like lockups. I can vouch for that, having driven a few ute races with 50-cent pieces on the front. Like Kim Jane will be getting quite a bit of vibration through that steering wheel, just with a couple of those inside front locks that he's had into turn 2. And you'll certainly notice that on right-handers. It'll, you know, makes an understeer balance in the car, or gives you a fair bit of push when you have too many lockups on these.
Tell you what, Kim Jane's faster in a straight line. That time through 5 kilometres per hour quicker down the front straight. He's pushing to try and stay with Royal Harris.
There's a bit of that push.
Yeah.
So it certainly wouldn't be helping.
He was quicker again on that last lap, but again, only just. Not enough. He's 7/10 off the back of Royal Harris Bush Ranger ute. And he's dragging it to try and stay with him. Turn 3, another heavy loading corner on that right front tyre.
So Zekanovic, in the meantime, has got his way up to 3rd. So this is encouraging for the last race in a few hours' time, about 2 hours actually, so fairly tight turnaround. Barbera leaves the pit lane. So Marcus Zekanovic from 11th up into P3. Good effort.
There's not a lot to be gained by sending Barbera back out for the last 2 laps of this one. He's off the lead lap now. He'll be starting towards the back of the field for our final race for the utes. That'll be coming up later today, live from the island. There is daylight between the front 2 and the rest. 14 seconds to be precise. Back to Marcus Zekanovic. He's flying at the moment. 151.1, his quickest lap, so he's about 2 seconds lap slower than the guys he's chasing. A lot of experience in the Dunlop Super 2 category before. Royal Harris has had a crack in the Super 2s as well. He's not too sure what his future plans are just yet. He's probably shying away from the Super Utes, thinking about maybe a change to either the V8 touring cars or maybe even Touring Car Masters. He's weighing up his options. There's no doubt he can drive.
Yeah, it'd just be good to see him in something, you know, at the pointy end of a field. And I know it's always budget related, but there's no doubt Royal Harris has a lot of ability, and he's dominated in this category. It'd just be nice to see him get a season or 2 in another category where he can really have a go at another championship.
This will be the final lap now. If Kim Jane's got anything to say about trying to stop Royal Harris locking out all 3 wins, needs to act now, because Harris is looking to go 2 from 2. Down towards the heavy braking turn 4. Harris just needs to nail his markers on this last lap. That's clean through there. Knows how to lead, doesn't he? No one in this category has won more races than Royal Harris.
Yeah, 3-time champion in this series. Still young, lives on the Gold Coast. And knows how to get the best out of a V8 ute. Did a little bit, couple of races, particularly here in Phillip Island in a Mercedes in the GT Championship in the Enduro event last year. So dabbled in a little bit, as you say, but just nice to see him in a regular competitive seat once we finish with the current format of V8 utes.
Oh, there was a little bit of a lock up there. Who was it? Hard to tell. Could hear it. Jane has pushed. He's kept Royal Harris honest. Harris needed to make sure he was perfect throughout the second half of this race, and he was. Last corner. He's on his way to victory. Hear those Yokohama tyres complaining as they come back onto the front straight. Gave himself a lap record as well. 2 from 2, Royal Harris doubles up at Phillip Island. Non-championship weekend for the utes, but it's a familiar name at the front. Led home Kim Jane, made the move stick at turn 4. And we wait and wait and wait for the driver in 3rd, and it's Marcus Zekanovic, and that's a good drive from 11th up to 3rd. And he'll have a good starting position for later today. Hopefully they can fix that gremlin, like Cameron was saying, a bit of a harness or wiring change for that car coming up ahead of their last race. So it's a lot of work to do, Cam. Those things aren't easy.
Yeah, to pinpoint them and isolate the problem. But, gee, it'd be just nice to have a 3-car battle, wouldn't it? I mean, they're the 3 experienced guys in the category. So if we can finish off with a 3-way tussle for the lead, that'd be a great way to finish up.
Good day for a surf out in the background. What a place to race. It's Royal Harris who gets the win. Kevin Stoutman, his best result there inside the top 5 with Tony Ordino. And Blake Skeberis, well, that was a shame seeing him get that drive-through penalty. He wraps up the top 10.